Hello, welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Stevie. This is Stevie Reads, and we are going to do a cozy little weekend reading vlog. I had no idea what I was going to film this weekend, but the other day I started this book and it has become my new personality. All I want to do is read Quicksilver by Callie Hart. And my most recent video, I reread the Cruel Prince trilogy. I finished the last book I think on Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday this week I tried to listen to an audiobook for a thriller, but I just couldn't get into it. I DNF'd it. Wednesday I was like looking at my shelves, seeing what I wanted to read, and I am just still in this fairy fantasy vibe, and I didn't want to continue on with Holly Black right away. I wanted to move on to a romantasy book, and this one has received so much hype. I've seen it in a couple people's like favorite books of 2024 video, and it just made me really want to pick it up. So I started the other day. It's Friday morning right now, and I'm up to page 150, so chapter 11. And oh my god, so much has happened, but everything that's happened is in the synopsis, so I'll tell you where I'm at in the story, but then I probably won't continue to be spoilery, just in case you haven't read it yet. But this is reminding me a little bit of The Cruel Prince in some ways. Like, obviously they are both fairy stories, but also in both of them the main character is a human who is like thrust into a fae world unbeknownst to them. They didn't choose to go there. But what I love about this one is our main character, Saris. She is 24 years old. Oh, love that. And at the beginning of the story, she lives in a very like Mad Max slash Dune kind of world. There's two suns in the sky that never set. She lives in like a desert where there is absolutely no water. That's why it's reminding me of Mad Max, because she lives in what's called the Third, which is like the poorest place in this city. There's the palace where the queen lives, and the queen is a human who has ruled for a very long time and never aged. So that's suspicious. And also she knows like about the fae, but herself and her family and like all the people who live in the Third, they believe that the fae are like a myth and that magic doesn't exist and all of that. So everybody who lives in the Third, they get 6 ounces of water as their ration every day, and it's not even fresh clean water. 6 ounces isn't enough for a human to survive, but also it's like the runoff from the palace. So people who live in the Third either have to become thieves and steal from people, or like use a trade or some way. Like, everybody who lives in the Third is a thief in their own right, otherwise you would not be able to live in the Third. So Saris has been able to climb the wall and go to the other side where the city and the palace is, and she has always stolen her rations and everything from the queen. And she has a younger brother. His name is Hayden. I mean, he's 20 years old, so he's an adult, but she steals for him. She steals for her friend Elroy, who's like an older man who runs a metal shop. And you know, there's some people in this world that she cares for. It's where she grew up. But one day she steals from a palace guard. She steals like his metal breastplate, because metal is very, very hard to come by in this world. The title is Quicksilver. That's a type of metal, and yeah, like metal is power. Even owning like a tiny little blade is so much to get in the Third. And so she steals from a palace guard and she gets the breastplate back to the Third, but she goes to her friend Elroy, who is the metal worker, and he refuses to melt it down because he knows that if he does, he's going to be killed by a palace guard. You know, everybody in the Third is too scared to help her like finish stealing it. The palace guards show up to the Third and bring her back to the palace for her execution, and she is literally getting murdered. Like, the guy who is tasked with murdering her stabs her in the stomach with a sword and is about to put a dagger in her heart, and with her mind she stops the dagger from killing her. Like 6 inches away from her, she stops it and injures the guard. And in the room where she was about to be executed, there's a big pool of silver that is in like a hardened form, and there's a sword sticking out of it. And she runs over to the sword and pulls it out of the silver, which apparently nobody has been able to do for like a millennia. And the guard is like, "You are gonna curse us all, like don't do that, don't do that." And she pulls the sword out of the silver, and out of the pool of silver comes a stunning fae man. Of course, he's described as like 7 feet tall with black hair. He might look a little bit like this, but this isn't how I picture him. And his name is Kingfisher. Hate his name. his like sister and his friends call him Fisher, but his name is Kingfisher. Terrible name. But he comes out of the pool of silver and is like, is this a joke? Because a human girl is standing there with the sword, and he's like, what the hell? But he finishes killing the palace guard, and he takes the girl back to his fairy realm. And then once they get back to the realm, the gate closes. But Ceres thought she was going to die because she was stabbed with this like a sword, but she wakes up in a room in like a palace, which Ceres, this whole world freaks her out so much because she has slept on dirt and rocks her entire life, and she wakes up on a feather bed in a room with paint on the walls and like canvases. Like, she can't even fully comprehend real oil paint on a canvas in a wooden frame. All of it is so luxurious to her. And when she wakes up, there's a fae woman in the room. Her name is Everlane. Sometimes they call her Lane, but that is Kingfisher's younger sister. She's a princess, and Everlane is like, hello, how are ya? Our fae healers healed you. And, you know, she hands her a glass of water, and Ceres in her head is like, this is a month's worth of rations of water. Like, why did she just hand this to me? Is this a joke? And she like chugs it down in 2 seconds because she's so scared that Lane is going to take it back from her. And Lane's like, interesting, like refills the water and is like, you can drink this again, but like go slow, you just woke up, don't make yourself sick. And Lane draws her a bath, and Ceres is just like, where am I? And Lane is like, you have to get ready to go before the king, like get in the bath right now, and then we have to go to court. And even the first time Ceres takes a bath, she is uncontrollably sobbing because she's sitting in clean water that she's making mud, and all she can think in her head is like, this amount of water would have saved my brother and everybody who I love, and I have no way of getting it back to them. Like, I'm just destroying all of this water. And not only is it like a fairy realm, so everything is different, there's fairies everywhere, she's literally the only human there, but it's also like the winter realm. So she looks out the window, and as far as she can see is just like an expanse of white, and she asked the fairies like, what is that? And they're like, snow, you dumbass. But obviously she's never seen snow. She's never even like been cold in her life except for one day when it rained in the 3rd. She's like, that was the one and only time I was ever cold in my life. And she woke up in this realm just like freezing. And also when she looked out the window, she's like, the only thing that broke up all of the white was a river. And she just stood there staring at the river for like a couple minutes because she couldn't comprehend that amount of water in one place. So she went from 2 completely different ends of the spectrum of like Dune, 2 suns that never set, heat, to fairyland where it's the winter realm, every single day it snows, and water and food and all of that are not very hard to come by. But she goes before the king, and the king tasks her to wake up the silver again because she doesn't understand how she pulled the sword out and did all of that. She was in a life or death situation and just like relied on instincts to get her out of her execution, but she doesn't know how to wake the silver. And the fae are telling her that she's an alchemist, but she's never even heard that word before. So she is tasked to like go to the library and figure out how to wake up the metal and then do it again, because the Quicksilver is the only way to access different realms, and because the gates have been closed for so long, they haven't been able to trade anything, so they are like low on resources and they need the gates to be opened. So she is tasked, and Kingfisher is also tasked to help her, so they are kind of like forced to work together. And Ceres would love to go back to her realm. She is so scared that the queen killed her brother as like retribution for killing her guard and escaping. So she just really wants to go home. She wants to get her brother, and she wants to kill the queen. Like, she hates her queen more than anything. And yeah, I am just so pulled into the story. I want to know what happens next, and I am already in love with Kingfisher. Like, oh my god, hate his name, but I love him. And I do think there's gonna be a little bit of like a love triangle situation, because there was somebody back in the third, his name was Carrion, who Saris was kind of involved with before the whole beginning of the story. So obviously she can't see him anymore because she's in the fairy realm, but they had a little bit of a thing at the beginning of the story. But now she's in fairy dealing with this fae warrior, and their tension and their like dynamic is just so much fun. I'm addicted, and I have to head into work right now. Super sad because I really would just read this all day. But yeah, it is 609 pages and I'm only on page 150, so still have not even made that much of a dent, but everything that is in the synopsis is everything that's happened. So I just can't wait to continue the story and see where it goes. But wow, already loving this world. And I think it's a really good way to do like the world building, is throwing a character into a place they've never been before, because Saris just keeps asking all these questions and we're learning so much about the world, and it's just so interesting. Okay, really gotta go. Talk to you later. Hello, it has been some days. I don't know if you can tell from my voice as it just like cracks, but I have been sick for the past couple of days. I keep getting sick and it is so annoying. Last week, my husband caught this bug at work and he called out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday last week. Like, it hit him really bad. And I took care of him, he got better, and then I thought I was in the clear because I didn't have any symptoms, but Saturday morning I woke up and my throat was like sandpaper. It was so dry and it hurt so bad. I still think I sound not very good and I'm still a little bit swollen, but it doesn't hurt anymore, thankfully. It is Monday afternoon right now. I called out from work. I honestly probably could have gone in because I'm feeling pretty okay today. It was just Saturday that was really bad. And then yesterday I was probably about like 70%, but I called out last night for today just to give myself one more day of recovery, and I got to sleep in, do all of that. But over the weekend, even though I wasn't feeling the best, I got up to page 350, so I still have quite a bit of this book to go, but I'm still loving it just as much as the beginning. I told you I wasn't gonna get spoilery, so everything is gonna be very vague, but the love triangle that I thought was going to happen is progressing, but not really. Like, we know obviously she's gonna end up with like the fae warrior gorgeous man, but our main character Saris, she is just trying to figure out how to control her alchemy so that she can make these, like, they're not weapons, but they're kind of like protection rings for Kingfisher's army. He has like 1,000 or something rings that she needs to individually infuse with Quicksilver, and she can't figure out how to do it, so she is just trying to figure out how to work her magic. And then there's also a fairy war happening, so it's a very interesting world. And actually last night when I was not feeling the best and I was just sitting on the couch, I rewatched both Mad Max movies, Furiosa and then the Mad Max, like the original one, and I just watched them because I was on Netflix and I saw that they were both on there. But it made me like think of this book because, you know, that's a world without water and full of sand. So that was kind of random, but I watched both of those last night and I do want to pick this up again today. I haven't read it since Saturday. Yesterday I really did like nothing, but yeah, it's already 1:30 today. Just had a very slow morning, taking it easy, letting myself relax, but I do have time to read. So I'm hoping to continue in this today. The romance is blooming and that is so stunning. But I'm really enjoying the magic in this. The fae, they're having like a war with this like vampire army, which I love. I want to know more about the vampires, and I know obviously I love a vampire story, so very cool that this world has fae and vampires. So yeah, it is all very interesting. I have no idea where the story is going to go, but I did notice that I had a lot more highlights and underlines in like that first 150 pages. And it's not like a lull in the middle, but we're just learning a lot about the world and, you know, about this war. So I'm hoping in the last 250 pages that the story picks up again, and I'm just excited to see where it ends off. Hello, next day. Forgive me for looking like this, but I'm still sick. I called out again today because I slept terribly last night. I literally got like 3 hours of sleep, so there might be some bags under the eyes, but I did end up finishing Quicksilver, just barely, and I really didn't think I was gonna get a Wednesday video out this week, but the one good thing about being sick is I had time to finish this book, and I literally just finished it like 1 minute ago, so I don't even fully know my rating. All I know is that I want the second book right now, and the very last page says that the next book is coming fall of this year. I looked on Goodreads and it says November, so I'm so far away from the second book, but wow. So much happened in the last 250 pages, really the last 100 pages. That's what I read today, and oh my god. I mean, I know this book is over 600 pages and it's chunky as hell, but the plot twists were insane and I just love it so much. So I would say this is a cross between the Cruel Prince series, which I just read, so it's very fresh in my brain, but obviously that's a fae story and we're following a human main character like in this one, and then also Vampire Diaries, which I've seen a million times and I love so much, but you know, the vampires in here are not like the Vampire Diaries vampires, but just some themes of that show, you know, like the love triangle aspect and the compulsion and everything like that. There was just some things that made me think Vampire Diaries vibes. So if you love those two things, this would probably be up your alley. I really don't know what I'm gonna rate it though. Like, I have to sit on that for a second. I don't know if it's a full 5 because it dragged for a little bit in the middle for me. And I don't know if it was because I was sick that it took me so long to read it, but I had a really good time and it was entertaining as hell. So maybe I will land on like a 4.5, just barely not a 5-star, but so close. And the way this ended, like, oh my god, book 2 could be a new favorite book of all time if it goes the way that I want it to go. And obviously it's a series, so there was a little bit of a cliffhanger, but I'm happy that I'm not left dangling too much because the author did wrap up some things and let some characters reunite before ending the story, which just makes my heart happy. So 4.5, oh my god, I ended up loving this so much. So happy I picked it up. I am going to take a little bit of a break from fantasy though. I've just been reading so much of it. And also this morning I started Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I've been wanting to read this for years, but my hold for the audiobook is about to expire from the library, and I checked it today and I was like, oh my god, I really need to start this. So only on page 28, I just like listened to it while I was making breakfast and stuff, but I'm gonna lean into the contemporary vibe for a minute. So we'll see how this goes after weeks and weeks of fae fantasy. But wow, my voice sounds terrible. I'm gonna get to editing this. Hopefully I can get it up tomorrow morning. Sorry for the short, quick, just kind of like one book video, but your girl's been going through it and I really just need an excuse to read this book, so I gave myself one. And if you've read this book before, let me know down below what you thought of it. I looked on Goodreads as well, and Callie Hart has written so many books. Now I'm thinking I might need to read some other series from her, but if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. All of my socials are linked down below like always, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. Bye!